There's the light now, and we're ready to go. The gates are back here in the Everest. We're off and racing to the massive roar of the crowd. Giga kick going to Bella Nipotina. Bella's in front though. Bella Nipotina wins the Everest.
Ka Ying rising. He's the Usain Bolt of the equine world.
Briasa goes to overpass. Briasa won the TJ. Jimmy Starr levels up. Jimmy takes the shot and won the All-Age Stakes.
Hello everyone, welcome to Trek to the Everest. Big morning out at Randwick today, where Ka Ying Rising stepped out for the first time in front of the public here in Australia and had a barrier trial. Finishing third behind linebacker and overpass, but the whole trial was full of stars. Ray Thomas was out there in front of what was a surprisingly good crowd.
It was, Greg. Probably over 1,000 people there, and it was a great atmosphere and great to see the world's best sprinter in Australia for the first time. Finished third. A couple of little negatives to come out of it, Greg. Zach Purton admitted the horse didn't handle that little parade prior to the trial that well, but at least he's had a look at Randwick now and's got used to the routine. And the track today, in the section where they came down in the centre of the track, was a little bit chopped up from Epsom Day. They watered the track on Saturday night, had a storm overnight, so the track was rated a good 4. The time was fast, but it was definitely a little bit affected, and Ka Ying Rising is much better on top of the ground, so they'll want this weather to continue to improve and get a firm track for Everest Day.
And I believe he was kicking out when being saddled up down in the saddling area.
A whole new area for him. He's never been to Randwick before, but two, they do it very different over there. So he was a little bit up on the toe. He's a little bit naughty down there. I think I'm glad they did it because he needed to go out and have that experience out there. He was a little bit warm in the mounting or the pre-parade, I guess you'd say, but he can do that in Hong Kong. Now, it wasn't a hot morning out at Randwick this morning, but he can get himself a little bit warm up on the toe. So I don't think they're too worried about that. And I did hear David Hayes suggest that he was about 9 kilos over what he'd normally race at. So he looks like he's got a lot of conditioning to come in the next week and a half. So all in all, I think it was a great experience for him. Race day is going to be very different because there are going to be so many horses down at the tie-ups. It's very chaotic come Everest Day. There's so many people, a lot of horses, a lot of movement down there. So that'll be the real telling point to see how he handles that.
That's a really important point, Chantelle. I think the thing we learnt today was he's obviously very, very fresh, and it showed when he was kicking out, etc. But how he's going to handle that pre-race routine, Greg. Yeah, they don't want the horse to run his race before he even gets into the theatre of the horse, let alone onto the course proper.
Well, I heard David say on radio that they're going to take him away and saddle him away where it's quiet.
Yeah.
So there's swab stalls down the back there. It's probably about 50 metres away from the rest of the horses. And there are certain horses that are taken down there to be saddled. But the whole thing is they're not giving him special conditions. So he has to stand in the tie-ups with the rest of the horses. I think they have to have a space or two between just for quarantine issues when he leaves Australia. But he's not to be put in a box by himself away from the horses. He has to do it like the rest of the horses.
Yeah, one little takeaway, we all went there this morning probably expecting to win by 3 or 4, pulling up and almost breaking a track record. That didn't happen. Is it game on now? Is all of a sudden we've seen Ka Ying Rising in the flesh. He'll no doubt improve, absolutely, and he's the world's #1 sprinter for a reason. But if you're a rival trainer and jockey, do you suddenly take a little bit of confidence in that trial and think, well, it's not over by any means?
Well, see what you think. Here's the trial. Let's pick them up as they jump away. And the first thing you see out of the gates is Ka Ying himself, because he really explodes the gates and then overpass hunts up on his inside. Now, Zach Purton kept him well away from overpass for this first portion of the trial, but then he said he allowed him just to cut in closer to overpass. He did that on purpose.
Yes, yep.
In third spot, you've got linebacker pulling, then Jolie Star. Out the back is Angel Capital, and you've got the 2 King Charles runners, Red Cap, Mr Brightside, Cerise Colours, Fangirl. And here in the home straight, tell me if Zach Purton ever moves on him.
He doesn't. No, we've drifted back towards that centre of the track, and you can see some of that kickback, Chantelle, and that's from last Saturday, a little bit of damage after the Epsom meeting. Michael would have wanted them out a little bit further, Greg, about 15 metres out. They probably can't. They've drifted back towards the centre and even closer. wherever linebacker goes, I want to back him. He's trialled enormous.
The linebacker has gone super, hasn't he? It's a shame there's no slot left for linebacker. Yeah. Overpass did what he needed to do, but the fact that we know Overpass is such a quick horse, and for Kaying to jump probably even a length in front and just sidle up alongside of Overpass there, he's so versatile. Zach did say that he'll ride him however the race presents. They can ride him on pace, they can ride him just off. One thing I did notice, he doesn't change leads, and there's been a bit of talk about this previously with him. So as you can see, he's on that outside lead.
They keep talking about it, don't they?
Get on his fresh leg.
It worries Zach Purton to the point where one day it's going to matter. It's not mattering over there in Hong Kong because he's beating them easily, but Shani, you explain it, being on one leg, obviously that makes you more tired. You're trying to look for that fresh leg to go on.
Most horses, they come around the turn and they swap to the other leg, and it gives them a bit of a break. But he's not doing that. And it's been a thing with him, you know, throughout his whole career, really. It'll be interesting to see, maybe because he wasn't comfortable on that track, it was that little bit soft for him. Maybe come race day when it's the firmer going and he's in a bit of more of a rhythm and he reaches his peak speed, he may change then, but you'd really want to see him do it, and I'm sure Zach would want him to feel like he can do it.
Well, let's hear from David Hayes and Zach Purton. First of all, here is the press conference of Hayes and Purton fronting the media after this well-publicised trial.
David, happy with that?
Yeah, I was. He needed it. It's been 6 weeks between drinks for him, so he really needed a dress rehearsal. He's a bit fresh in the pre-parade. But there were a couple of horses racing pretty hard on his inside, and I think Zach didn't get involved, which was nice. And he had a good blow. He's about 20 pounds above his goal weight. Travelling, that's excellent, and that'll trim down. And that was the idea for today.
Zach?
Yeah, I just echoed David's words there. He felt a little bit big. He was a bit toey in the saddling store when I seen him out there, and we all seen him in the parade ring. He had the sweat coming out between his back legs. Certainly feeling the moment a little bit. And then carrying the extra condition compared to his racing weight on the softer ground. He obviously felt it a little bit, but he's going to tighten up from that and improve, which is what we want.
And he has a tendency to sweat up anyway. Is that the case, David?
He can. If he's at Chartin, he gets very edgy in the mornings going through the tunnels with all the horses. And then when Zach or whoever's riding him drops over his neck, he relaxes straight away. And I think that was a bit typical of Kaying today. He'll be better on race day, but he'll have to be because there's going to be 50,000 people here. So, I think the dress rehearsal's been a big thing, big help for him.
Dave, how important was it to give that horse a look at the routine he's going to face on race day?
It was very important for the horse, but even more important for his Chinese handlers. You know, that they know Chartin very well and they're very professional, but to be here with everything totally different, the pre-race, so it was very important, yes.
And Zach, what sort of feel did the horse give you the first time hearing his back to probably 3 weeks?
Yeah, like I said, his condition can tighten up a little bit. The ground is a bit softer than what he's used to, so he's going to need to tighten up a little bit and hopefully come on, but I thought he got through it. It's an okay, it's a pass mark, but I think he needs to be better on race day.
Dave, given what Zach said, what does the horse do now to take racing?
He'll have an easy few days, and then on Monday he'll have his final gallop at Canterbury, and that's sort of his normal routine, and I think that will bring him on. And it must be noted, Zach is often very pessimistic.
Turn serve, Zach?
No, well, I'm standing next to the eternal optimist, so...
Dave, can you give us a sense of what Kaying Rising's appearance in Sydney is doing in Hong Kong?
Yeah, well, it was an honour to have a horse in a trial that so many people came out to see. But in Hong Kong, he's a bit of a cult hero there, and becoming more so every win he has. So there's been some great horses in Hong Kong, and he's right up there with them.
Is he the best horse that you've trained?
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, he's the best horse I've trained. I did train a world champion at the start of my career, Better Loosen Up, and his career got cut short, but I think this fella's got the edge on him.
Zach, given that David rates this horse so highly, how important is it carrying rising at his absolute best in the Tote racing?
Well, he's going to need to beat his best. The Australian sprinters are world class, they're the best in the world, and we've had to travel down here to try and take them on a track that is probably not really to our preference. At Chartin, the track's a lot firmer and a lot faster, and as we've seen today, it was a bit softer, which he's not used to. But you know, that's a challenge that we wanted to take, and we look forward to it.
Aussie 1-2 punch, you two. What about the family name and the boys trying to steal some thunder with War Machine, and even today with Mr. Bright?
Yeah, well, War Machine can't be underrated. I think he's a very, very good horse. And when I saw Brightside was in the trial, I rang Ben, who's just having a baby, and I said, do you want me to beat you by 10 or 5 lengths? And I think we beat him by 5. But I thought Brightside trialled very well, actually. It looked a really good trial. So, no, the boys are going to have a presence in the big race, and they're definitely one of the dangers. That horse has won 4 group races, including a Stradbroke, and the Stradbroke's great form for the race. So, yeah, he'll be hard to beat.
How does the Hayes family handle it? Is there friendly sledging and banter over the phone, or how do you deal with it?
I'm not a bad trash talker, and and the twins are pretty good at it as well. So, yeah, there is a bit.
Okay, well, David Hayes last competed in the Everest in the second year. Vega Magic backed up for his second attempt, and they had 3 runners in the very first year, but it was David Hayes, Ben Hayes and Tom Dabney training in partnership for those first 2 years. David comes back on his own, and now there's a new Hayes dynasty with the 3 brothers. Here he is in the parade ring. Here's how he handled things this morning. Earmuffs on, and you can see that crowd there just for a barrier trial to come out and have a glimpse of him. So, Shani, this is what you're going to be seeing on Everest Day, but by all reports you're going to see a trimmer Carrying Rising.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting, aren't we? I've asked a few people just what he's like physically, and they just said he's so strong behind, and you can see that he's got so much power behind, but he's not your typical built sprinter. He's got that little bit more athleticism about him. I remember when we spoke to David, he said you'd look straight past him if you didn't know it was him. He doesn't stand out.
He's a medium-sized horse.
Yeah. But really looking forward to seeing how he parades, and noticing that they've taped just under his knees there. They've taped him up. He might nick himself with his back legs as they come through. I'm not too sure what the tape is there. Maybe something we could ask David. Yeah, precautionary tape there. It's not something we usually see over here in Australia, so interested to see what the reason behind that is.
So Zach said he was a little bit concerned about that parade, but I mean, it didn't look too bad, except that he got a little bit hot. Is that what he was more concerned about?
Yeah, he did mention a little bit of sweat there. And then you get some people that say, oh, it doesn't matter, people harp on about sweating up, but jockeys and trainers are the first to mention it. Yeah. Whenever you ask them about their horses, they say, he sweated up. And
sort of thing,
it is a bit of nervous energy, and you think walking out to a place where he's never been before, there was quite a few people there. It'll be nothing like Everest Day. There'll be thousands and thousands of people around the Theatre of the Horse, and there'll be a lot more horses in the yard too.
Correct.
And just on the crowd, it is officially a sellout.
It is.
That has been announced. So there are no general admission tickets. No. The corporate areas are all sold out. So
the only way to get a ticket is if you become a member of the ATC.
Right. So and they never know how many members would turn up on any given day, but they set aside.
They have got a very good deal. If you wanted to become a member to get into Everest Day, there's a code word, Everest all uppercase, and they'll waive the $500 joining fee. So if anyone
you get for free?
For free. So
you can become a member for free?
100%. If you can do it, that Everest code word, that's your only chance now of getting into the Everest, unless you're good friends with Greg Radley, who's got tickets everywhere. But no, it's literally a sellout, and the only way you can do now is to become a member of the ATC, and for this next week or so, they are waiving the $500 joining fee.
Okay, so we're expecting 50? Around 50? It can't hold any more than that.
Yeah, I put it to Steve McMahon at the press conference. He said we'll get more than 50,000. I said, are you certain you'll break 50,000? Absolutely.
Okay, they'll break
certain.
50.
Absolutely
Do
certain.
you know off the top of your head which year's been the biggest year?
Last year.
So last year was the
49,117, and this year, they're certain they'll go
last year
50.
they sold out, I think, two days prior.
I think it was the day of the barrier draw.
Yeah.
It was
in the week of.
So we're a week
ahead.
earlier, and Ray, the other big crowd was, of course, Winx's farewell.
Yes, yeah, it was 46,000 by memory, you're right, yeah, and that was a huge, huge day. Of course, there's that new facility that will be there on Everest Day. I think it's called the Cube.
The base camp?
Yeah, or base camp, which holds about 3,000 top of my head. So all in all the corporates are sold out, all the GAs are now gone, 50,000 plus, house full sign at Randwick. What a day.
Yeah, well, it's a discussion for another time, but now they'll have to invest in going infield.
There's no other way to do it.
There's no other way to do it. So for a longer chat with Zach Purton, here's Ali Mosley after the trial.
Well, Zach, most importantly, welcome home. A hero's welcome. I've never seen so many people out for an exhibition.
I think they were coming for the bacon and egg rolls.
Apparently they're very good.
I did sneak one and I can confirm that.
Now let's talk about him, Ka Ying Rising. What did you make of him? Let's start with his demeanour, actually, how he's been. You've obviously just reunited with him this morning for the first time since he travelled.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned when I seen him in the saddling stalls. He was quite agitated. I could see him being sweating. And then even more so once he come into the parade ring, his sweat was coming out between the back of his legs, and you could tell that the moment was getting to him a little bit. So it's good that he's had the dress rehearsal, and hopefully he sort of gets that out of his system, and he's going to be better on race day. But there's going to be a lot more people on race day than there were this morning, even though we had a big turnout. So mentally he's going to need to relax a little bit, I think.
But that was what this morning was all about, as David had mentioned, and he did seem to settle the more he went around and just started to get an idea of his surroundings.
Yeah, exactly, and once I got on him, I felt him chill then, so I thought that was a good sign. And what pleased me the most was how he behaved in the gates. He stood there quite quietly. When he's normally historically been in that type of mood before, he'd get in the gates, he'd move around, he's like a galah sort of dancing on a branch here, but he stood there well, which was pleasing. He jumped out well, he got into stride quickly, he travelled around good. As I said to the media before, I think the track was a little bit softer than what he would like. He hasn't really raced on a track like that before, and he's carrying a bit of condition, not having done much since his race, so he needed the hit out. The ground was a bit soft, so he was grinding away a little bit, but he's going to come on. He's had a feel of the track now, so he should be more comfortable next time. He's going to need to improve, and we hope he will.
He was strong through the line. Did he have a bit of a blow?
He had a really big blow. Yeah, he was feeling it when he pulled up, and he's going to have to go another 200 metres on race day. So he's going to have to do a little bit more work between now and the race.
What's this whole experience like? You're obviously a big race rider in Hong Kong. It's a lot of media commitments over there, a lot of pressure, but to come over here and face the media this morning and be a part of this, do you feel it?
No, I don't feel it. I enjoy it. Yeah. You know, it's nice to come down here. It was good to get around to Godolphin yesterday. And then, yeah, it's good to see everyone come out and support the horse as well, support racing. We've got a lot of, avid followers of our sport, which is great, not just here in Australia, but globally. And he's added another dimension to the race. So it's good to be a part of it. Maybe on race day we'll see how it is, but fundamentally my job's going to be the same as it always is. I just got to, hopefully get him out the gates nicely, get him into a rhythm, find his spot in the race, and, at the end of the day, if he's good enough, he's going to show that, and hopefully he is.
Having horses like him are so important for our industry to bring everyone out here. He's the star of the show, you're the star of the show. It all goes hand in hand about making sure that racing is relevant.
Yeah, exactly. There's been a lot of impressions on social media, people following him, retweeting. It's been great from Hong Kong watching all the coverage back here in Australia, because I've felt to a certain degree like I've been here. I've seen the videos every day. I've seen him walking around the parade that they have there for him in the international stables. I've seen him working every day. I've seen him eating carrots. I've seen him having a pick of grass. I feel like I've been along the journey with him the whole time. So that part of it's been great, and we've got another 10 days to go now, and see how we go.
Everyone's got an opinion on him physically, but to my eye, he just looks like he's got so much strength, particularly behind the saddle. What does he feel like when you sit on him?
He's got better as time's gone on. He was like a little filly to start with. He was very fine, very weak, a little bit fragile in certain ways, but as he's matured, he's developed physically, he's matured mentally. He's a very kind horse to do everything with, apart from him getting a little bit agitated before a race, but that's what he's like in the mornings. Every time I get on him, he'll jig jog. You can't walk with him. He's got to jig jog everywhere he goes until he gets out on the track. But once he gets out there, he bows his head down, he just canters around like an old hack, and then he walks back. knowing that his job's done.
It's a pleasure to see him here, and we always appreciate you having a chat with us. You're on the Red Eye back tonight.
I am, yeah, so Happy Valley tomorrow. It doesn't stop.
And when do we see you landing back on Aussie soil?
I'll get back here next Friday morning. Got a few things to do during the day, but I'll just chill and then get ready for the race Saturday.
Okay, so it's going to be a bit of a rush for Zach. Flies out tonight and doesn't come back until the Friday before the Everest. David Hayes stays on in Australia right throughout this term, and he's got, Shani, a brand new, the first grandchild to meet.
Yeah, a first granddaughter, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's got a grandson, maybe. But he's got his first granddaughter, yeah. So Indiana, they named her. I think she was born either Sunday or Monday.
Last couple of days,
yeah. Last
so
couple of days.
He was
so.
making a beeline straight from Lindsay Park to see Grace and Ben, so it was good.
Here is the full list of Everest runners, and you've got Yulong and Godolphin blank. Magic Time was picked by Inglis after Skybird went amiss, and that happened on Saturday. Overpass for Newgate. Jolie Star trialled this morning. Mulberry have gone with Jedi Beale. They did that on Sunday.
He was good last start. Yeah.
War Machine has now been picked up by Coolmore. They had to make a decision, and he, of course, won the Gilgai. Fairway have been with Lady Shenandoah. She didn't trial this morning, and I don't know whether she trials again. She's right, ready to go. Angel Capital for James Harron went round that trial this morning. Briasa, brilliant in the Premier, beating Jimmy Starr on Saturday, and then Kaying Rising. So just keeping that list up there. Shani and Ray, what did we think of Overpass this morning?
Excellent. Did what he always does in trials, Shani, and just bounced on speed.
They gave him a bit of a squeeze late there, which he probably needed, but he's had a heap of exhibition gallops, so they're really pumping the work into him.
Jolie Star was out to do very little.
Typical Chris Waller trial.
Yeah.
Jedi Beale, it's not a bad way to go. They don't have to share the slot. It's their horse, it's their slot.
And he did run competitively in the TJ Smith in the autumn, and his last start run was really encouraging.
I think he's needed the runs that he's had.
Yeah, he deserves his spot.
If he draws well and has a nice run just in behind them, he might finish in the top half. Yeah.
Angel Capital, like Jolie Star this morning.
Out the back,
very hard to get a guide on. Yep.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the market. And Tim Ryan, he got him into $1.50. He wanted to. So just in the last, since Lady Shenandoah and her defeat in the Manikato, it's been $1.70 into $1.60 and now into $1.50. Let's go back and look at the Premier on Saturday. Briasa and Jimmy Starr stood up. Private Harry, unfortunately, has been injured and he's out, which means Yulong must look for a replacement. But here's Briasa getting it after Private Harry and Marzu, and Jimmy Starr finishes off. And the other horse that gets a start is Jedi Beale, back and behind them in the Bumblebee colours. Just getting off heels now.
Yeah, just got checked then. They broke 1.8. Shani Briasa went 1.798 to beat Jimmy Starr. Both those 1.2 also broke 33 seconds their last 600. So in terms of Everest trials, Briasa and Jimmy Starr were excellent. And there's Jedi Beale just switching heels. He's got home nicely to run 4. So I'm just thinking back, as I said, to that TJ Smith run in the autumn when he was competitive against essentially the Everest field, with the exception, obviously, of Kaying Rising. So he's not out of place in an Everest.
Not at all. What I love about, especially the first trial, I'll touch on Jedi Beale in a moment, but the way Briasa and Jimmy Starr had both come on from their first runs, and they're not screwed down yet. There's still that little bit more to go with the pair of them. So that's exciting and scary to think that there's more to come from the pair of them. And then Jedi Beale, of course, he missed his first run. He had that little bit of a setback. So he's sort of chasing a little bit, but his run was good enough to suggest that he's going to improve into the Everest. I know he's not quite at that level just yet, but like I said, if he draws a soft gate, gets a nice run in just behind, there's no reason why he can't run. Accordingly.
6,
exactly, yep. So I don't blame them for choosing their own horse. 100%. There wasn't much left to choose from, was there?
Here's War Machine down the straight at Flemington. He has something in common with the last 2 Everest winners. Think About It won the Stradbroke, and Bella Nipotina ran the closest of seconds.
Yep.
So here's War Machine, a Stradbroke winner, returning in the Gilgai and making this statement to be picked. Now, Coolmore were in no man's land. They didn't have one of their own. The only possibility to carry their colours would have been Woden, but he's going up to the mile of the Caulfield Guineas. So they had to go looking for someone else, and that has happened before. They've they've had other occasions where they haven't picked their own horse. I think Santa Ana Lane was one of them. We'll bring that list up when we talk to someone from Coolmore tonight. But he had to be picked off the strength of a Stradbroke win and that run.
Well, obviously that convinced them. They just wanted to see what War Machine did first up. If you remember Private Eye, he went Stradbroke second, won the Gill Guy, got a spot in the Everest and ran a close second. So, as Greg said, the Stradbroke form has stood up. David Hayes made mention of that this morning at the press conference. So he's wary of his son's horse, War Machine. He's right in the Everest.
The son's taking on Dad.
I think that's a great story. We were hoping this would be the case. We were hoping that the boys would be able to take on Dad. They actually had Kaying Rising themselves early days when he was sold from New Zealand. He came to Australia and he had a few jump outs for the boys, so they know him quite well. And now they've got one of their own, and he's unbeaten for them. He's had 4 starts for the boys, and he's won all 4.
It was going to be a big day having Mr. Brightside and the King Charles, but now they have their own Everest runner. We're going to take a break. When we come back, have Godolphin made up their mind? Jason Walsh from Godolphin will tell us if they're ready to pick their Everest runner.
Take money, a whole lot of spending money. It's gonna take plenty of money.
Well, Godolphin have been considering 3-year-olds for this year's Everest. In the conversation so far have been the Golden Rose winner Bayvakt, the place getter the filly Tempted, and also Tentaurus, who resumed in the Danehill last Saturday. All 3-year-olds. Let's find out if Godolphin are closer to making a decision as we speak. Jason Walsh from Godolphin is joining us on Trek to the Everest.
Beautiful.
Is there any news, Jason?
Great to be with you. Yes, I'm pleased to announce that we've elected to take Tempted forward in our slot for the Everest. So she'll be our representative on Saturday week, and we're very excited about her prospects.
You've been very open. Every time we've asked you the question, the 3-year-olds come up. So what did it come down to in the end?
Yeah, as you say, there's a lot goes into these decisions, and you see from our own experience in the race and this year specifically some other slot holders. It's always a changing landscape, and if you'd said to me at the start of the spring, would our 3-year-olds be our most likely contenders? Perhaps the answer to that was not, but we're in the fortunate position that they've come back in great order, and we'll always make the decision that we think suits the individual animal. So on this occasion, we think Tempted's best place to run in the Everest, dropping back in trip, where she was so dominant there in the Run to the Rose, which we're just watching now on screen, and we think that's a really good scenario for her, and we think that she's primed to bounce right back to her best.
Godolphin joined the Everest in year 3 as a slot owner, and every one of those years you've had one trainer, James Cummings, to deal with. It has been the team and James discussing what horse to get there. This time you've got 9 trainers to work with. Not all had Everest contenders, but how different was it this year talking to each individual trainers? In the case this year of the Freedmans in Melbourne, we had Waller and we had Marr.
Yeah, it certainly made it interesting. In terms of the goals and aspirations of our company, they haven't shifted. So, as I say, the priority is running these horses in the races that we think see them best placed to reach their optimal performance. And obviously our trainers are instrumental in those discussions. It's quite obvious that Bayvakt, having won the Golden Rose as he did, was a live contender for an Everest as well. And I've got no doubt in the world, after the world-class performance he put up there in the Golden Rose, that he could really make his presence felt in the Everest. So Chris's advice in targeting the Coolmore and how he wanted to prepare it for that was instrumental in electing to go straight to that race with him. And obviously that opened it up for Tempted, who we probably headed to Golden Rose Day thinking that she was our most likely Everest contender. And as you say, having put it all into the mix and hopefully come up with what we think is the right decision, she'll get a chance on Everest Day.
Well, Jason, Tempted goes in for Godolphin. What if the other slot holder, Yulong, came to Godolphin with a very, very good deal for Bayvuck? Is there any chance of that horse potentially going into the Everest as the 12th horse?
No, Ray, not on this occasion. As I say, we've had long and involved discussions with Chris Waller about how he felt he was best prepared for the Coolmore Stud Stakes, which is obviously a restricted 3-year-old Group 1 of real significance to his stallion career. So we've all agreed that the best way to get him there for that is to bypass the Everest this year. And I would say that that's with a view to the next 18 months with a colt of his power and his progressive nature. You know, the world-class performance he put up in the Golden Rose suggests that, we could potentially have some quite lofty aspirations with him over the next 18 months, but it's a bit about consolidating that Golden Rose performance and giving him the best chance, hopefully to turn up in the race next year in our slot, all going well. So at this stage, Tempted will be our only runner, and we're very happy to have all our eggs in that basket.
You've announced today that she'll be running for you. Were you just waiting to see how Tentyrus went first up, and did he need to win on Saturday to give him any more consideration?
Look, I think he's a very exciting colt, and again, with the Coolmore Stud Stakes as his target, it probably did require him to come out and win the Danehill. We thought he was brilliant there first up. He's a horse that's generally taken some racing to hit his peak, certainly as a 2-year-old, and we all saw how dynamic he was in the Todman. So we're very excited about him. I think he's got the class potentially to run a very competitive race in the Everest, but on this occasion we're going to take him through the Gothic Stakes to the Coolmore, and from our perspective we were very pleased with how he returned there on Sunday.
Jason, Tempted will carry only 51 kilos in the Everest. Have you got a jockey locked in?
Yes, Ray. We've engaged Craig Williams, who obviously knows plenty about winning the Everest and what it takes, and can do that sort of weight very comfortably. So, look, it's always a great advantage to have a rider of Craig's class in your corner. And he reached out a few weeks ago, expecting that she might be a genuine contender. He's actually worked her this morning with Kieran down at Bong Bong, so he's had a feel for us, and his feedback was very pleased from both trainer and rider. They think she's in a great space. She did take a few days just to get over a tough run in Golden Rose. Obviously, Bayvuck setting a track record time there, and just dragged her out of her comfort zone a little, so it's not surprising. Took her a few days just to bounce back to her best, but Kieran's very much of the view that she's back there now, and with another 10 days or so to prepare for another very big test in what's going to be a hotly contested race. We're very pleased to have a rider of Craig's world-class ability. It will be helping us plot a path to hopefully see her run a winning race.
Jason, can you believe the success that Godolphin have had on the track since the switch from James Cummings to all these other trainers? It seems every horse they put down either wins or runs well.
Yeah, obviously it's very pleasing from our perspective. It's a monumental shift in the way that we did things, and it's a great credit to the training operations that we're now with, but also our own prior to that, and the many people who are still working hard behind the scenes to ensure that these horses get the chance to be their best. Can I believe it? Yeah, I mean, the key to our success has always been our bloodstock and our processes and people. And, I've said on record a few times that all of our 9 trainers are working diligently to ensure these horses are placed to advantage and get the chance to run right up to their best. And, we're very excited about the stallion power that we have at our disposal. A young horse like Bivouac, I can't for a minute overstate the significance of Bayvuck winning his Group 1 in the manner that he did, not only cementing himself as a sire prospect, but also Bivouac. What a better way to start his career at stud with a horse of his calibre. And then Street Boss, the 2 other 3-year-olds we've talked about tonight, in Tentaris and Tempted are running in the Everest. We've got some great bloodstock in our team and a great team of trainers now who are working hard to ensure that they are seen to their best.
And finally, do you think if you beat Kaying Rising, you'll win the Everest, or are there more chances than that?
Look, I think these Group 1s of this calibre are very, very hard to win. Obviously, Kaying Rising's got the travel component to contend with, but he looks world-class in every way. But I think that the weekend showed us in the Premier Stakes that the local contingent are very strong. Asfura winning in Europe just shows you how, in my view, the Australian sprinters are the best in the world. So he will have to bring his best to beat ours. It's a very significant test for a 3-year-old filly like Tempted to beat horses of that nature. I think it's anything but a one-horse race, and tactics will obviously prove important on the day. I mean, one comment I would make is I caught a glimpse this morning of Kaying Rising's trial and how great it is for our sport that a horse of his calibre can draw people to a barrier trial morning. It's hugely exciting for our sport, and that race has really cemented its position in the Australian landscape as being of real significance. So, look, it's a great event to be part of. We're delighted to be slot holders at Godolphin, and I think Tempted will represent our slot very well, as she has on every occasion she's run for us so far, and we think she's a genuine live chance in the race.
Jason, thank you and all the very best.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, team.
Jason Walsh there, Godolphin. Tempted, trying to become the first 3-year-old filly to win the Tab Everest. From Godolphin, we'll move to Coolmore next.
It's War Machine in front, short of 100 to go. He's the leader, flashing over the outside is Yellow Brick. War Machine gripping on. War Machine gives Hayes their first Stradbroke and wins.
War Machine showing the persuader, and it explodes. War Machine came away and won at will.
It had shades of Private Eye and what he did in the Gilgai 3 years ago about it. He had to go and do it. He's done it. The time will tell us a little bit more once that's confirmed, but Private Eye came out of winning a Gilgai and ran second to Giga Kick in an Everest. There's no reason War Machine doesn't win himself a slot from here and take up his chance in the big sprint race up in Sydney.
Well, Coolmore have had to look outside their own this year, and they've done it for the third time. They have picked War Machine to run in the Everest in the Coolmore slot. Previously, Santa Ana Lane back in 2020 was picked by Coolmore, and in 2023 they picked the 3-year-old Jacquinot after winning the Golden Rose into their slot. So let's find out more about their decision. Tom Moore from Coolmore is joining us on Trek to the Everest. Thanks for your time. It's War Machine, hey?
War Machine in 2025, yeah, he'll represent us this year. We were obviously very taken by the way that he won there on Saturday, and we've kept an eye on him since he won the Stradbroke. It seems to be a race that sets up well for Everest winners. The last two have come out of that race, and we're looking forward to it.
Was Woden ever a realistic chance? Were you holding on to him until after the Golden Rose?
Yeah, well, obviously when you've got a slot in the Everest, plan A is that you have your own runner in the race. So Watson was one that we kept an eye on, but we try and keep an open mind with these things. Traditionally, we've only made our mind up very late when it comes to announcing our slot in this race, and we gave him every chance, but we have to do what's best for the horse, and our opinion and Chris Waller's opinion was that the best thing for him would be to go down to Melbourne and target the Guineas, and he'll take his place there on Saturday.
So here goes the mole for the Caulfield Guineas, Tom, and you have gone back with War Machine. You mentioned the Stradbroke. In the last 3 years, the Stradbroke has been a terrific form reference for the Everest, and indeed, Think It Over won it twice, so won both races. So when did War Machine come on your radar, and did he need to win the Gilgai for you guys to move on him for the Everest?
Well, yeah, we try and keep an open mind. So obviously we've been watching War Machine. He's a very progressive horse. He keeps going from strength to strength with each preparation. But obviously, we wanted to see him come back and improve again. We feel like he has done that. We've got a very close relationship with the Hayes family, and Coolmore have done for a long time. So while we would love to have one of our own runners in the race or won by one of our stallions, to be able to team up with the Hayes boys is the next best thing.
Tom, have you got a jockey locked in for Saturday week?
So we're leaving that up to Ben and JD and Will. There is something in the works, and I believe something will be announced very shortly, and we'll let the Hayes team make that call once it's 100% confirmed. But yes, there is something in the works.
Okay, they have to marry it up with who's staying in Melbourne for Caulfield Cup Day and who's going to be in Sydney. That's obviously plays a key part.
Yeah, so still a little bit to play out, but it will be revealed very shortly.
And what about the ownership group of War Machine? Are there any links there with Coolmore? Obviously, you've got a lot of clients, so they're in ownership groups all over the country.
Yeah, well, it's quite a big group of owners in the horse. He runs in Rupert Lee's colours, obviously. He's one of the major contributors to racing throughout Australia. He's owned some top-line horses, including Chautauqua, who's by our own in Costa del Lago. So there is some synergy there. The horse was bred by David Wallace from New Zealand, who's also been a long-term client of Coolmore, and he retains ownership in the horse. So, there's a number of people involved within his ownership group that we have an existing relationship with.
Yeah, well, Tom, Rupert Lee, of course, not only Chautauqua, he part-owned Masked Crusader, who just missed in an Everest, so he's desperate to win one. The Everest itself now, when Coolmore won it with Yes, it didn't have Group 1 status, but the race was already so important from a breeding perspective that it didn't need the Group 1 status, so to speak, to make a stallion. But now this race has got Group 1 status, and for Coolmore to align themselves potentially with another Everest winner, it's just great for the business as well, Tom.
Yeah, Coolmore's been involved in the Everest since its conception. One day we hope to win it again with another colt that we can retire to Coolmore, and that is always the intention. Obviously, we're in the business of trying to make stallions. We don't have the right horse for the race this year, but we've got plenty of nice horses in work, and we'll be keeping an eye on them and hoping that they can progress towards an Everest in the future.
Will he be wearing his regular colours, Rupert's colours, or have you done a deal and he won't be sporting the navy blue?
In the past, when we've taken on an outside horse, externally owned horse, we've allowed the owners to use their colours in the race. I believe that will be happening again this year.
Tom, thanks for joining us, and good luck with War Machine in the Everest.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting and we're looking forward to it.
There's Tom Moore from Coolmore. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Ben Dorries will join us with his news.
Peter Snowden, you trained Redzel to win the first two Everest, so no one knows better than you what sort of horse it takes to win the race. A lot of people, as you would know, are saying that every other horse is fighting for second place behind the Hong Kong horse Kaying Rising in this year's Everest. What's your view of that sort of opinion?
Yeah, look, there's no doubting his ability over there. There's no doubting that at all. But it's a different thing coming halfway across the world, and albeit it's only about an 8-hour trip from Hong Kong. But still, he's got to settle in. He's got to adjust, and he's bringing a whole different pool of horses. So it's not easy. He's definitely got the figures and the form on the board. There's no doubt in that. But it's never as easy as you think, especially that sort of race. It's a really tough. It's a hard sprint, but they go hard. They keep on increasing, and they sprint home hard. So if there's a weakness in your armour, you'll get found out in that sort of race.
What are the challenges for a horse in a different environment that you've experienced yourself?
Yeah, I think it's acclimatising. Everything's different. Like their feed's different. The whole routine would be different to what he's used to Hong Kong. But he's got a trainer that's trained in both places, so he's got the right sort of trainer to get him to adapt and know what you need to do. There's never that big a gap especially when you're travelling. If you're different, you're training in your own place and you're meeting the same horses and you've got a dominance, you'll keep doing it. But when you're coming from overseas and got to change a lot of things, just evens things up a wee bit. Look, there's no doubting his ability. I'm not putting cold water on the horse at all. He's biggest stack up. He's a freak. But yeah, he's got to travel though, and he's going to meet some pretty good horses in that race. So it's never as easy as you think.
What do you think of the race now and how quickly it's developed into the juggernaut that it is? Were you surprised it happened so quickly?
I was. I've got to say the first one I thought was how's it going to turn out? Was a success, but it just kept building. The intrigue keeps building. The prize money's crazy, but it's. I think it was even worth half that amount of money. Still got a similar sort of horse coming over because it's big money. But the interest is good for racing. It showcases Australian racing. It's bringing internationals over, so all that's good for racing and punting, and it just keeps going from strength to strength.
Well, 10 million the first year when you won it, and 13 million the second year. Now it's 20 million. I guess that's your only regret. It's not worth 20 million from the start.
Yeah, I've been robbed. No, it's a great concept. Fantastic to be part of it, and we were lucky enough, Paul and I, to win the first two. So they're moments we'll think about and cherish forever.
It's going back 8 and 7 years since Redzel won those two. But the memory will still be bright in your mind. What did you take out of those days?
I want him another one. That's what I took out. It's just such a big thing to be part of, and hopefully I get another chance in the next few years to have another crack.
Given that you've trained those two winners and you've experienced a horseman as anyone in this game, what exactly does it take in a horse to be the right sort of horse for that race?
You've got to be fast, you've got to be tough, you've got to be able to handle wet and dry and absorb pressure. You need a special sort of horse that you'll never see nobody win that sort of race. It'll be a very, very good horse that ticks all those boxes.
Is there a horse or a couple of horses right now that you think are the most worthy of challenges to the Hong Kong horse?
Yeah, I think Chris Waller's filly the other day that won, she's very good. I know she's a little disappointing last year, but she seems a different version of herself, and what she did in the Concord last week was special, so no doubt I feel she'll be there when the whips are cracking.
And finally tonight, let's go up to Brisbane from RaceNet. Ben Dorries is joining us as he does every week on Trek to the Everest. Benny, good evening. What's the forecast looking like for Everest Day, the long-range forecast? Well, it's getting shorter and shorter. It was a long-range forecast. It's only a 10-day forecast now.
Yeah, well, it's still pretty long range, I've got to say, given that the weather changes every day, the forecast changes every day. But rather than just polishing the crystal ball to see what it sort of produced, I contacted Josh Holt, who's a senior meteorologist. He's a weatherman of some repute, and he's looked at it all for me and come back with good 4 track for the Everest on Saturday week. And now, how's he come up at that? He said on Sunday night there's a little bit of rain in Sydney. He said there's a weather system going through eastern Australia on perhaps Tuesday, Wednesday next week, but he doesn't expect that to bring too much rain. He said there might be a few storms, but basically even if there is a bit of rain, sort of Tuesday, Wednesday next week, there'll be plenty of time for the Randwick track to dry out. So look, I've seen plenty of hot takes on social media about the Hong Kong Superstar Horses trial. Some loved it, some didn't love it, but that is particularly good news if that holds true, that we're looking, at least at this stage, at a dry track for Everest Day. I'm sure David Hayes and Zach Purton will be licking their lips.
Yeah, look, I think a little bit of rain on Tuesday and Wednesday would be perfect because they're going to have to put a lot of irrigation. We've got hot temperatures down here this week, getting up into the 30s day after day, so rain would be great. Do you think Team Hawks are happy after Saturday's premier win by Briasa?
Yeah, I spoke to Michael Hawkes yesterday, and he certainly was. I mean, I heard Jason Walsh say there before that it's not a one-horse race. Michael Hawkes has always said that. He thinks it's a wide-open race. The one thing with Briasa, and this flies in the face a little bit of what I just said with the weather forecast, but this horse has had one start on a heavy track. It was a heavy 8, admittedly early in his career, at Kembla Grange. I think it was his second start, and ploughed through it really well that day and won in fine fashion. And from everything that they have seen at work, they think that this horse would be particularly suited, on a rain-affected track. Now, whether they get that, who knows? And of course, obviously, they're probably crossing their fingers as well for a wet track because it'll diminish the power of the Hong Kong horse, won't it? But certainly Briasa, they're just sitting pretty. The spotlight will be off them. It's all on the Hong Kong horse. But if there happens to be a bit of rain, if that forecast happens to change and there is a rain-affected track, they're very, very confident that he will get through it.
Well, the Hayes family will be on cloud 9 getting a horse into the field to take on Dad. They were hoping to do it with War Machine, and that's come to fruition.
Yeah, it has. And look, I'm sort of going left field with this year's Everest Ray. I mean, we're still a week and a half out. But look, I'm tipping the Hayes Quinella here, the Hong Kong horse and War Machine. I had a look at the odds this morning. I think War Machine was still around the $21 mark. Obviously, there's Caryin Rising, who's $1.50. But look, I can really make a case for War Machine. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the Gilgai first up, could have won by further. And the Queensland form up in my neck of the woods, coming through Stradbrokes, etc., that's been proven for the Everest, hasn't it? It really has, through the likes of so many horses going back to the start of the Everest. So look, and I do think this horse, War Machine, it's one of the probably real X factors in the race. Like we probably know what we're going to get from a lot of the field, the Briasas and the Jimmy Stars and the Jolie Stars. We don't quite know, I guess, what we're going to get with War Machine. But I'll tell you what, he's got a lot of X factor, and I've got the camp's words ringing in my ears after the Stradbroke victory that we see there. They said this is just a start for War Machine. He's completely untapped at the moment. You watch what he becomes. So look, I reckon he could be one that could leap out of the ground and run a huge race in the Stradbroke, potentially even challenging the boys' dad's horse. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, well, you can take them at their word because they know what to do with a good horse. They did it with Mr. Brightside. Now they can do it all again with War Machine. They're capable.
Yeah, they certainly are. And doesn't it add a fascinating dynamic to the race, doesn't it? I mean, look, the boys love their dad, all three of them, but gee whiz, wouldn't they love some bragging rights? Wouldn't they love to knock Dad off on the bigger stage? They might be disowned from the will, I reckon. David might kick him out of the will if they do that one day. I don't know. But look, I do think that War Machine adds a significant X factor to the race. And David Hayes himself has very, very high respect for that horse. In fact, I reckon if you got him in a quiet moment over a beer, he might actually nominate War Machine as one of the main dangers to his superstar.
Benny, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it can't be underestimated what these Hayes boys have done, you know, in their career, following on from David and following on from CS.
And they did lose some horses initially, but they proved themselves. Mr. Brightside's flown the stable flag magnificently, but he's not their only horse, as Greg points out, and War Machine only had him for a short period of time, Chantelle, and didn't he stamp himself in the Stradbroke, and he was brilliant in the Gilgai.
Yeah, and he's only going to improve off that, you'd expect. So, yeah, he will give our horses a run for their money, and Caryin Rising as well.
Kosciuszko also on the day of the Everest with the King Charles. Here are the full list of ticket holders. Good luck to everyone. Look at where they come from. From Grafton out to Coonabarabran, down to Griffith, suburbs around Sydney. And here's the market, front page. Can he do it for a third time? It'll be his fourth run in a Kosciuszko. He's won two and he was second in another last year behind Far Too Easy. Clear Thinking, Compelling Truth. Boston Rocks, Shani, lovely
Good
trial
on
Saturday.
Yeah, he went well.
So that's the lineup. Here's a word from Matty Dunn with Golden Decade and also Without Parallel.
Right, Matt, you got two horses into the Kosciuszko. Both trialled here today. Let's start with Without Parallel. She looked brilliant at the trials.
Yeah, she was really good. You know, she's a natural speed horse, and she used her speed today to. You know, she wasn't forced or asked to do too much. Just let her roll forward and find the front, and let her get through her gears late. Just a nice little blowout. She's going a pretty big space between runs going into the Kosciuszko. So, exactly what we're after, and exactly what we're looking for.
And Golden Decade, another horse. He had a lovely quiet time at the trial.
Yeah, he certainly did, and that's his pattern. You know, sort of get back and run home, and Andrew just sort of let him coast along and asked him for a little bit of an effort the last 200 metres. He responded well and sort of took a bit of ground off Without Parallel. But look, both horses have had perfect preparations in, and hopefully we can come home with a result.
Well, they're not quite 2 weeks to the Kosciuszko. What do? We don't see him trial again?
No, they've sort of done enough now. You know, I'll float them through. They'll do a little bit of fast work probably next Saturday morning, nice easy 1,000 or something like that, and that will just about do them. They've got the track travel down, obviously. So we've got to keep that. We've got to keep that in our mind that takes a little bit off. So we want to go there nice and fresh, and that's the reason why both horses are going there with big spaces between the last run. We want to be sharp and ready to go for the 1200.
And to end with, here is the King Charles Market. This is going to be some race. Fangirl and Pride of Jenny, equal favourites now. Bright Side, Lake Forest is trimming up, not surprising. That's Haggis and Purton. Pericles, Wolf Lindemann, Royal Patronage. I think Swift Falcon will be there too. I think this follows the Everest, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
This is after the Everest.
But it's no anticlimax, is it? Despite as big as the Everest is.
But normally on a big day like the Everest, it's a big come down after that. No, we'll stay up for this.
Absolutely.
We'll stay right up for this. Okay, that is it. Well, that's our final show here in the studio. Next week we'll be out somewhere with the all-important barrier draw. We are 7 days away from the barrier draw for the $20 million Tab Everest, and that's where we'll join you next on Trek to the Everest.
There's the light now, and we're ready to go. The goats are back here in the Everest. We're off and racing to the massive roar of the crowd. Giga kick going to Bella Nipotina. Bella's in front though. Bella Nipotina wins the Everest.
Ka Ying rising. He's the Usain Bolt of the equine world.
Briasa goes to overpass. Briasa won the TJ. Jimmy Star levels up. Jimmy takes the shot and won the All-Age Stakes.